Who's ready for some good news? I mean, something fun to talk about, right? Let's do that.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, according to the comments from, we got a gazillion watches last night, which we appreciate. A lot of them were Auburn fans telling us how salty we were. Yes, we're saltier than a Ritz cracker in the Dead Sea right now because we just lost our top recruit to our arch rival. So, yes, we're salty. I don't know that that's a big deal. And saying I'm salty is kind of like saying, Luke, you're also goofy and tall. Yeah, I'm those things too. Jimmy's short and white-haired. Yeah, he's those things too. So we're salty right now. But that's okay because I'm going to tell you, Jimmy, all I'm going to say is this. I have done mild topical digging, and I'm just going to say it's a long way to December and everybody just needs to chill.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. And again, I mean, what's the score? I mean, if people are so concerned about the scoreboard between Alabama and Auburn, as I see it, it's about 7-2 Alabama right now, maybe 8-2. And then we'll see then we'll do some more adding as we get closer to signing day. And I'm not minimizing or just blowing it off and not recognizing Auburn for their accomplishments in landing commitments from DeMarcus Riddick and Perry Thompson. I'm just saying that it's not anywhere near the end of the world for Alabama, and it's not anywhere near the Auburn rebuild is done. Auburn's got a long way to go, and Alabama's got a heck of a distance to fall from. They're so close to the mountaintop as usual. So let's see what happens the rest of this signing day. A couple of announcements next weekend for Alabama in terms of we'll be watching closely. Amari Jefferson, wide receiver from Chattanooga, Tennessee, outstanding player on three, ranks him at right around the number 100 mark in terms of top prospects in the country, number 2 player in Tennessee. And Nate Frazier, who may be the best running back in this cycle. I've felt that all along. Deciding probably between Georgia and Alabama. Might be Georgia there. We're trying to get more intel at BOL before we know for sure.
And KJ Bolden's going to announce next week. I do not think that'll be Alabama.
Could be,
but I don't think it will.
I'm not sure. I mean, for him, he's done a great. I really appreciate how KJ Bolden's handled recruiting for one thing, because he isn't shy. He's good with the media. He goes on a lot of trips. I think he's making a real informed decision. He's gone on a lot of trips. And I think Georgia fans, Florida State fans, Alabama and Auburn fans all have some level of optimism going into his announcements. That's a great job by him, because most of the time it's pretty narrowed down or you got a real good idea. I'm not sure.
All right. It's time to talk a little bit about your countdown again, Jimmy. I think we're to number 10. Is it number 9? 10?
10. Malachi Moore is number 10, the 10th best player on the Alabama football team, in my opinion. Wow. And you know, when I go back and before I write up my BOL piece and come here and talk about them out loud, I do a little more research. I know a lot about these kids without it, but I go back and I research their careers, stats, starts, and you almost forget, because it's now 3 seasons ago, actually the magical 2020 season, when Alabama probably fielded the best team in the history of Alabama football, to be honest. Malachi Moore was a true freshman starter on that team. The 2020 team, maybe the greatest Alabama team of all time, Malachi Moore was not only a true freshman starter, he was like a second team All-SEC, third team All-SEC, a third team All-American by the Associated Press. We forget how great Malachi was during that season. And then this is why we've forgotten it, because in 2021, he tried to play through injuries. He went from like 50 tackles as a true freshman down to 17 as a sophomore. He had hurt his back, and that's a terrible injury to have, by the way, a lingering back injury. You go try to play SEC football when your back hurts and try to cover receivers and tackle backs. And so Malachi was out for a lot of 2021, or he played hurt, and it wasn't pretty all the time. And by that time, he had been passed by Brian Branch. Well, what kind of insult is that, right? I mean, Brian Branch, again, on a short list of the great DBs of the Saban era and second-round pick of the Detroit Lions. So Branch passed up Malachi while Malachi was hurt. And he did win another starting role, a lesser role as the sixth DB, the dime back, basically, last year. And he played okay, not great at times. I'm not sure that's his best position. But now here we are, senior year. It's happened already year 4. And the good news is he's healthier than he's ever been, or at least since his freshman year. And he looks like a certain starter. Now, is he going to start at his old star position? Keep in mind, for those that's like, I don't like Malachi Star, he was a third-team All-American playing that position when he was a freshman. So let's not just flush that idea. But I do agree that probably where Malachi serves us best is playing safety for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think it fits his skill set well. He's got quite a bit of experience there. Started at safety against Miami, I think, in 2021, that game, because we had someone out with injury. But he's going to start at either safety or star. And, boy, when you look at career starts, when you look at career tackles and numbers, something like 100 tackles, 4 or 5 interceptions, some sacks, tackles for loss. I mean, Malachi is easily Alabama's most experienced DB in terms of snaps played and starts, even more so than Kool-Aid. And he's a good player. I think we're going to see something a lot closer to his 2020 season than what we saw in 21 or 22.
Yeah, it's not very normal at Nick Saban's Alabama for a guy's best season to be their freshman season. So far, that is true with Malachi. Here's hoping that his senior season is the best.
Yeah, and it's explained by injury. In my mind, it's explained by injury, and then due to the injury being passed by Brian Branch. So he's hurt, and then he loses his role because he got sort of wildly pipped by a great player. So
who by the way is killing it for Detroit.
Yes, I've heard good things. So Gibbs too. I mean, we got a ton of players in Detroit. I know a lot of people think Washington and Philadelphia are Bama Central in the NFL, but Detroit, it's got Bugs, J-Mo, Gibbs, Branch. There's another one.
There is another one, and he's like, and he's like bucking to be captain or something.
Bugs. I mentioned Bugs.
Oh, was that Bugs that was bucking to be captain? Okay.
Yeah, but I think there's one more. I think it's not just Bugs, J-Mo, Branch, and Gibbs. There is one more, and we'll look it up when the show's over and tell you guys tomorrow.
Okay. But for now, what I need to do is tell everybody about eBay Motors. For a championship. I'm sorry?
Ross Pierce Barker.
There you go.
Barker. Okay. Just came to me.
Yes. Thank you for interrupting my live read for that.
Okay. That's how my brain works.
For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game at no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Want to reiterate, we always like you guys making us your first listen. You guys are the best. We do. We love y'all so much. Thank you so much. And we're going to keep doing this countdown the rest of the week. Maybe have some more commitment news soon. But because we're getting to JaCorey Brooks in your countdown, who will be number 9, I thought it only fitting, considering Auburn just flipped a wide receiver that everybody is going cuckoo about. Why don't we just show a little highlight about another receiver, maybe against Auburn here recently, maybe kind of.
Looking for Brooks in the corner. Got it! Touchdown, Alabama!
Ah, that's a good one. I'll never forget that, Jimmy. I was at that game, scared to death. I mean, I have no problem saying that. Scared to death. But my daughter, who was, I guess, 4 at the time, she was there. Her grandparents, my wife's mom and stepdad, are big Auburn fans, and so that we always go to the Auburn game with them, and Jordan Hare, and I was just nauseous that whole game. And so we finally score, and my daughter at 4, she was not worried about any of it. She was just like, whatever. She just started doing the Cabbage Patch like randomly, and I had to take a video of it. I still watch that video to this day because it made me very happy that my daughter is coordinated to do the Cabbage Patch at age 4, and she was really happy Alabama won. So, anywho, that was a big moment. And
I'll never forget where I was when you learned how to put a highlight into our podcast.
That is so true. For those who don't know,
that's my moment as much as the Jacory Brooks cut.
For those who don't know, like, I'm so excited. I got this video clip in there, and I didn't pirate it off anything. Like, I just sort of finagled my way into it. I don't know how I did it, but I'm happy about it. And here's Jacory Brooks again, silencing the Auburn crowd. Right after that catch, it was a big deal. And Jacory Brooks is set for a big season, if you ask me. I mean, look, everybody's focus is on the next guy on your countdown, Malik Benson, who we'll talk about in a second, or they're talking about Kendrick Law, or, they're talking about some other dude that, on the receiving core that everybody's excited about. It seems like Jacory Brooks is getting overlooked, and I don't think we're going to be able to overlook him very long.
He really is. I think he's – I hesitate to say it because there's so many who are, but I think he is the most underrated player by our own fans on the team. His shame in life apparently is not being quite as good as Devontae Smith or Jerry Jeudy or Henry Ruggs or Jalen Waddle. I mean, I think that's his shame, his crime against the Alabama family. He's maybe not quite those guys. So it's Jacory Brooks has had a very good career. In fact, this will surprise many of you because Jacory doesn't carry this level of water, right? But did you know after 2 seasons, after freshman and sophomore seasons, his numbers are literally, well, I say literally, that's not quite true, almost literally exactly the numbers of Devontae Smith? I mean, after 2 years on the team, Jacory Brooks has as many catches and as many yards and more touchdowns than Devontae Smith. Now, I'm not saying he's Devontae Smith. He's not. Devontae then, as we know, took off, eventually even winning the Heisman Trophy and being a first-round pick in the NFL draft. I'm not saying Jacory's even going to be a first-round pick, much less the Heisman. I'm just saying this is a good player. The only thing he has not done is be a great player immediately. That's the only thing he's failed to do. Although, as Luke showed, he did make a great play as a freshman. So that's nearly immediately enough. But good player, great catch radius. He's had a few high-profile drops, but his drop rate isn't terrible. I mean, that's the thing. I think he's dropped a ball or two at a bad time. But his drop rate, per those that track it, per Pro Football Focus, it's not bad at all. I mean, he's dependable, great catch radius, gets open, does a great job of using his big body to shield DBs from the ball. Hey, if it's hey, we're playing a game today, or let's say we're playing a game next Saturday. We don't have 5 weeks, but let's say we're playing a game next Saturday. It's 3rd and 6. We're playing Texas. We need a first down. Who you want to throw the ball to? I want to throw it to Brooks because he's going to get open and he's going to catch it and make the play. Jacory is just a good player whose only sin is not being that succession of freaks that we had, about 6 of them over a 2 or 3 year period. He's not quite in that category. But, when you're a 3rd round pick in the NFL draft, no worse than the 4th round, you're a really good player. Only like fans of Alabama and Georgia and maybe Ohio State lose sight of that. But he's a very good football player, probably the most underrated player on the team. One last thing, Matt Zenitz from On 3 interviewed some scouts, NFL scouts anonymously. NFL scouts agree this is a good NFL prospect not enough people are talking about, Jacory Brooks.
So, I mean, what that means is there's a chance he could leave after this year.
Yes. I think he's one of the most interesting will he come back or not discussions right now, because I think it would shock some people. Some people are like, yeah, JaCorey Brooks goes pro. That doesn't sound right. I think the scouts like him. I mean, what's the knock? He also runs better than people think. I think in the combines he's going to run in the 4.5s. And why am I saying that's not fast for a receiver? It is when you're over 200 pounds. I mean, for his size, he runs pretty well and he tracks the ball great. That catch he made against Kansas State, when I thought Bryce made the best throw of his career, which is saying a lot, to the back of the end zone against Kansas State, that catch that JaCorey made right there, that had Sundays written all over it.
You know, and I just thought of one other reason that JaCorey Brooks, you know, is just awesome.
Looking for Brooks in the corner. Got it! Touchdown, Alabama!
I know that. And it's an over-the-shoulder catch and another great throw by Bryce. But how he tracked the ball, what they literally, the term they use in scouting, how he tracked that ball. That's a hard ball to catch. I know most of us, if we haven't played football, we play baseball, right? Hardest ball to catch is a ball thrown directly over the top of your head. You got to catch looking straight up, and it's coming from behind you. That's an extremely difficult ball to track into your hands. And boom, we saw him do it as a freshman right there to get that Auburn game in overtime. And man, what a legendary play by a freshman receiver. But guys, we got to stop underrating JaCorey Brooks and just decide, you know what? He's really good.
All right, Jimmy, let's take a break. When we come back, I want to quickly talk about Malik Benson. I also want to ask a question. Is Nick Saban Batman? And we're back. Jimmy, Malik Benson, this is somebody we're all looking forward to. And look, if one of the reasons we're overlooking JaCorey Brooks is because of this dude. Now, we thought this guy might put on a show at A-Day. He did not. He pulled
an Ajay Hall and put up some nice numbers late against a bunch of backups.
Correct. So here's hoping that we get to see some. Oh man, I want to see something for him before that first game. I really do. I want to feel more confident about him because right now I've gone from like Malik Benson's going to be a stud to I think JaCorey Brooks may be our best receiver. Everybody thought going into A-Day, going into spring practice, I should say, Malik Benson would be that guy. I just hadn't seen it yet to be able to give him that title.
I think that's fair. And I also think JaCorey Brooks could be Alabama's best receiver, even if Malik Benson's very good, because I just think Brooks is that level of player. But I have Benson one spot ahead of him as the 8th best player on the team. I know that's going to surprise some people who thought they'd see more out of A-Day other than that last drive of the game where I think Milroe threw it to him 5 times in a row, and 5 times in a row he got open, caught the ball, advanced the ball, eventually scoring a whole length of the drive field that was Milroe to Benson, Milroe to Benson, Milroe to Benson. And I don't know about the Milroe part, but get used to it this fall. I think he's going to be a go-to guy. There is every reason in the world to be excited about Malik Benson from his amazing production in junior college. Over 2,000 yards receiving, the all-time leading receiver in Hutchinson Community College history, and that's a very good junior college program. Incredibly productive. He's run a 10.500 meters, which means he's a candidate to be the fastest player on the whole football team. He didn't just impress Alabama coaches during spring practices. He impressed Alabama coaches during the bowl practices. He practiced with the team before the Kansas State bowl game. They were immediately impressed and felt he's good. He's as good as we thought. And then in the spring, he had a good spring. Got to remember the A-Day is the 3rd scrimmage of the spring. First 2 scrimmages per reports did very well with playing with the ones, starting, with the ones all through the spring. He was with the first group. Not even Jermaine Burton and Kobe Prentice, who played with the 2s. But Benson was playing with the ones, with JaCorey Brooks. So I have every reason to believe Malik will be good. Now, we haven't seen it before. I'm doing a fan thing where I'm ranking the guy we haven't seen ahead of the guy we have. That's the fan thing I'm always kind of making fun of. And here I am doing it. As I say, a lot of things fans do. I do it too. I can't help it either. So I have Benson one spot ahead of JaCorey Brooks. I personally think it was my bold prediction for the wide receiver group that we did on BOL earlier this summer. my bold prediction is Malik Benson leads the wide receiver room this year in catches, yards, and touchdowns.
Hope you're right. Don't have a ton to add except that Bryce Young did choose him to throw to for his pro day, which was a big deal.
Perfect.
But, Jimmy, the most important question of the day, is Nick Saban Batman? And here's where I'm saying that. We've never thought about this. First of all, he's very rich.
Yes.
He's famous for his cars. Batman has a pretty cool car. Here's the other thing. We've never seen him in the same room at the same time. And I came up with my own artist sketch of this so that you could see. I feel like that's him. Now, I did this artwork. That's me. That's
wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be bad. I mean, it's
what I'm saying is the worst Batman cowl that's ever been, and it's red.
It is a terrible Batman cowl. It looks a little bit like the Burger King crown, but it all. I will say this: if you put that Batman cowl on Nick's face, as you saw, I think he's a good Batman.
Look at that,
and it could be.
I hope he does most of his looking out of his right eye, because I really shortchanged the left eye's ability for peripheral vision. But no, here's my other thing.
I like it. I just saw Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer yesterday. I've mentioned a couple of times, and Christopher Nolan famously made the Batman trilogy, and so I like it. We'll pass this on. If Nolan wants to do a fourth Batman, we'll pass that along.
But I thought about it last night, just laying in bed, because I'm stupid like that. And I really was thinking, like, in the Batman series, and I think in Christopher Nolan's trilogy, one of the themes was, hey, and Joker said this, Heath Ledger said this, hey, you created this, because you were doing your thing and stopping crime. People who commit crimes, because that's their nature, have to get better at crimes. They have to get more outlandish. They have to get crazier. You made me. So that's kind of what's happening now with Hugh Freeze and Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart's the Joker. Hugh Freeze is the Riddler. Nick Saban has created these. Lane Kiffin is now. Hugh Freeze may be the Penguin. Lane Kiffin is the Riddler. And he's created these people. Brian, what's his name over at LSU is Clayface. I mean, I'm telling you, I know Batman villains more than I know coaches in the SEC. That should tell you a little bit about who I am. But Nick Saban has created this. He took recruiting and the process to such a different level that everybody had to start catching up or get really left behind. And some people are beginning to catch up. Georgia's already there. We can admit that. Auburn certainly isn't there. LSU isn't there. LSU's closer than Auburn, but Auburn could get closer. And here's the other thing. Alabama's not coming down. Auburn and LSU are rising up a little bit. We got to deal with it. But the other things I said
you know how Batman has a butler, Alfred?
Yeah.
Nick Saban has Cedric Burns.
Exactly.
He's Alfred. He's Alfred.
I did do this too. He's also got a bunch of gadgets. He can pull out a little Debbie out of his belt or something, And instead of the Joker,
his young ward that eventually becomes Robin, Tommy Reese.
There we go. Instead of the Joker, we will now refer to Kirby Smart as his villain name only, which is the bowl cut. And Hugh Freeze is now the pastor. That makes a lot of sense. Where are you going with that 5-star, pastor? You'll never get away with this. I don't know if Batman ever says that. I don't think he does. He's a little abrasive like Batman, but he's always doing the right thing, even if he has to do a few wrong things to get there. I mean, he's Batman. And again, I present Exhibit A. That's the best I could do. I worked on that for 10 minutes. That was the best I could do. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's podcast. I guess we'll see what's our coach's name? What's our women's coach's name? Kelly something?
Which women?
Women's basketball?
Christy Curry.
Christy Curry. I knew it was something like that. Maybe she can be Wonder Woman.
is to win a few more games, although they are improving. I think back-to-back NCAA.
I wonder why she's still employed. I'm teasing. I'm teasing. I like her. She's fine.
Back-to-back NCAA tournaments for the gals.
Okay. That's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more Locked On Bama. Thank you guys for listening. We even appreciate the Auburn people who are tuning in just to lick our salty tears. We appreciate all of y'all. Thank you kindly. Roll Tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.